Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Ready23 session. I'm Zach LaValley. I'm the head of engineering here at RapidSOS. Glad that you could spend another 30 minutes with us today learning. The next 30 minutes are going to be focused on AI's role in home security. I've got with me two amazing thought partners in this conversation. Mukund Rajukumar, VP of Growth for Cami Home and Cami Vision, and Dan Wright, Deputy Director of Baldwin County 911 down there in Alabama. I'd love to turn it over to the two of you guys, just a brief intro, who you are, what you do, and why you're excited to be here with this conversation today. So Mukund, over to you.
Thank you, Zach. I'm Mukund Rajukumar. I've been in the computer vision industry for the last 2 decades and launched an array of products for consumers and businesses. And I currently hold the position of VP of Growth at Cami Vision. Cami Vision offers an open computer vision AI platform that makes vision AI accessible and affordable to consumers and businesses. And we are primarily focused on security and elder care applications. In terms of our partnership with RapidSOS, if you look at any emergency situation, I see like 3 stages to a response. There is detection, notification, determination of appropriate response, and execution of response, right? Like our systems, the camera systems can do the first stage very well, but for stage 2 and stage 3, like determining the appropriate response and execution, that's where our partnership with RapidSOS becomes invaluable. So that's my quick intro. Thank you. Back to you.
Excited to start the conversation. Dan, I turn it over to you. Quick intro, please.
All right, thanks, Zach. Dan Wright. I'm, like I said, Baldwin County, Alabama. 25 years in public safety, retired from the career fire service. Also have volunteer fire service background and been in 911 for 22 of the 25 years of my public safety career.
Awesome. I'm going to start us off with just a few stats that I've recently read, and then sort of turn it over and start the conversation. So 72% of households in the US have at least one home security device. 51 million, or about 42% of households, have video surveillance systems. And yet, all I hear when I've talked to people like Dan and others is that the public safety industry is that all of this is just noise. Too many false alarms to deal with, to the point where several large municipalities will only dispatch a response if the alarm is human verified. And further, they started to charge homeowners for repeated false positive alarms or false when they dispatch and nothing's actually happening. So, Mukund, I wanted to start with you from the technology perspective. How do you see AI helping reduce and hopefully maybe reverse the curve or the distaste and distrust from home security systems within the 911 community?
Yeah, I totally understand the frustration and the distrust brewing in the 911 community. If you look at the high incidence of false alarms, right? They are primarily stemming from the traditional home security systems, which are primarily reliant on motion and contact sensors. And one of the service providers was saying like they generate 90% of the triggers coming out of those were actually false alarms, right? So one obvious way to mitigate this is to pair a video with every trigger, and what we call video verification, right? But also video verification can be quite expensive if there is human intervention involved. So at Cami, we have come up with this novel approach, a novel solution where we have built a home security solution that uses cameras exclusively as both sensors and recording devices. And then in order to control the cost, we actually integrate an AI model right on the camera itself that can detect human presence, right? So not all triggers are going to this video verification. And because of this combination of 2 things, cameras plus AI models, we are able to offer this at most competitive price in the market. So overall, I think AI-driven home security solutions are going to drive down false alarms, increase reliability while keeping cost in check.
Would love to see that happen. I'm sure, Dan, you would also love to see the promise of that. I guess I'd love to get more color from you. Was my statement spot on? You and I previously discussed, like, we're just not talking the same language. False positives doesn't equal false positives. Can you tell me and the audience a little bit more about like what you mean by that? And maybe Mukund promised, video verification for every alarm. Is that doing what you needed to do?
Yeah, I believe so. Like I said, I believe that in my conversations in the 911 industry and with the alarm industry as well, is that our definitions of faults are completely different. In my discussions with alarm company, representatives, their false alarms are if there is an actual detector malfunction. And in the public safety world, from fire, police to dispatch, a false alarm is we get there and there's nothing found. There's no fire. There's no breaking and entering of a home or a business. So the definition of false is very relative to this conversation, because the alarm companies say those are valid activations. Well, there may be an activation, but it's not an actionable activation that public safety can take an action on or can do anything about. So yeah, when we get to the point that we're receiving actionable contextual information into the ECC on these alarms, and that we have more rich data to, I don't want to say diagnose is not the right word, but to be able to provide that contextual rich information to the responders, then it just helps us to become more efficient.
Mukund, since this is kind of a conversation about AI and broadly, increasing the amount of technology we use in order to detect and respond to incidences, I was hoping that maybe you could spend a little bit of time sort of talking to us about the type of AI or the type of systems that you guys are deploying within CamiVision. I think you had mentioned that you're using computer vision and that you've been working in computer vision. How is that? I mean, we've seen this enormous explosion of AI, and I think a lot of that chatter has been about large language models and the ChatGPTs of the world, but that's not the only flavor. Can you tell us a little bit more about kind of where you've spent most of your energies and possibly how that's different in applying a solution to this space?
Sure, yeah. No, just quickly, if we go back like 20 years, right? Like traditional computer vision has all been about like manual programming, where engineers are writing instructions to specifically detect, say, now let's take the example of person detection, right? So they're looking for like different shapes, edges, body. So they were very, very specific, right? But then with the advent of like powerful chips and memory and improvements in neural networks, now if you fast forward 10 years, so 10 years ago, deep learning neural networks started becoming more and more popular. And specifically in computer vision, these AI models called CNNs, or convolutional neural networks, have kind of taken the center stage for standard computer vision applications. And the way these work is that they are trained specifically for certain tasks, like say person detection or vehicle detection, face recognition. And the way it's done is a large volume of labeled data. Mostly these are labeled by humans, and it's fed so the model can learn from this data. And then once the model is ready, then it's deployed in production. So as an example, I think 5 years ago, all the cameras, in fact, I wouldn't say all the cameras, 90+% of the cameras that were supported on Cami platform, they started having what's called neural network accelerator chips. So these are chips that can make these AI models, CNNs, run much faster on the camera. So that became a a big trend, right? But then fast forward to now in the era of LLMs and ChatGPT, computer vision has taken new meanings. The most popular computer vision model, computer vision application today with LLMs is image generation using text prompts with the, you see applications like DALL-E, Midjourney, Stable Diffusion. But really for, if you think about like the standard computer vision applications like person detection, face detection, the pre-LLMs was the CNNs that I was talking about, but now there is this derivative of LLMs called vision transformers. So, some of the audience might know, this whole LLMs or the transformer architecture was introduced by this seminal paper by Google called Attention is All You Need. And from then on, there are so many variants of transformer models that have come into existence. So similarly, even for computer vision, there is this vision transformers that researchers are experimenting with, and it's showing very promising results. It has beaten CNN on various benchmarks. So that's one big area that we are seeing a lot of research. And then, two other things I just quickly wanted to mention. One is what's called this multimodal neural networks. OpenAI has this neural network model called CLIP. It's a contrastive language image pre-training model. Essentially, this forges connection between text and images. And one of the applications is, like I was mentioning, CNNs use a lot of training data that are like manually labeled by humans. Now there is a swath of images and comments on the internet that this model can just go and label, connect the text to the image and create labels. So that's one application. So these are some of the areas where we are seeing LLMs being used in computer vision.
Dan, I hope you were taking notes. There'll be a test at the end. We're going to need to know what CLIP means, and we're going to need to know the transformer architecture from you. Joking aside, though, a macro takeaway there, right, is that technology has advanced tremendously, and there's an enormous amount of depth to it and expertise in order to deploy it and put it into the products. Dan, from the user perspective, from the 911 perspective, what are the most important things for you? Like, what are the problems that you're facing? And how can you give advice to people like me and to Mukund about being more human-centered or solving the problem that you need, or making sure that we are taking kind of that advanced, science and engineering thing, concepts that Mukund was talking about, and applying them to a place that you need them?
The first thing that any innovative or technology company must do in order to communicate with the ECC and get this information where they intend to get it is to partner with RapidSOS. We internally have made, we have basically a guideline that we've turned down technology companies that have reached out and wanted to send us data, and our response is we use RapidSOS and the portal, so you need to talk to those guys. But after that, the verification point, the ability to know that something is out of the ordinary and it's being visually detected and verified, not only by the computer or the transformer, but then can also be verified by the human aspect, being either the alarm company monitoring or hopefully in the ECC with the direct tie to the portal, the rapid portal. That verification is what we need. Just real quick, we recently had a call where a homeowner watched on her in-home camera a fire start. And while that was great, the fire department got there, made a quick response, got the fire out. The lady stayed in her house that night because of that. But just think, if she had not been available, or if that information came directly to the ECC, the response could have been even faster. So those are the top things that we're looking for is the verified contextual rich data that shows that there is something really happening versus an analog alert or an analog trigger that we may not know if it's an intruder or a cat in the house that set it off.
Yep. Yeah. First of all, I appreciate the shout out, so thank you. Second, I will say, like, one of the things that I think a lot about is trying to provide sort of that uniform experience to 911. There's just an enormous growth of data and digital information coming and flowing in. And so how do we create kind of that unified experience? Because we've got 911 operators who are being inundated constantly. And so the more that they have sort of a standard flow that they can sort of follow, I think the faster they can respond. And so I think, Mukund, sort of off the cuff, maybe over to you. How do you guys think about, again, partnering with people like RapidSOS or maybe others and trying to create kind of, you've got amazing data, you guys are building amazing systems out in the wild. How do you think about making it easy to digest and to put into existing workflows for people who need to take action? How do you think about that? Maybe an API or SDK design, or getting that information out to the people without sort of imposing a different workflow on them?
So, I think more from our end user perspective, and what you're asking more about, how we make that uniform for the ECC, right, for consumption, right? So I think
Getting you out of
that's
your wheelhouse, getting you a little uncomfortable, Mukund. Sorry.
yeah. So I think that's where that's where we rely on partner like you to bring in that level of knowledge and like guide us through that, right? So from our end, like, I am constantly thinking about what are the confusion points, what are the friction points from a user standpoint, as they are, like, in case of an emergency situation, for example, there is a PIN code, passcode, are they getting confused? Those are the areas that we are working on streamlining. But beyond that, in terms of having a standardized flow and organization of information to get to ECC, we rely on your team. We have a weekly call with your team, getting their advice on, like, what needs to be done from our end, from API standpoint, to
Awesome.
address those issues.
Yeah, I'll say that we appreciate the partnership, and we want to help you guys support your end customers as much as possible, and your expertise there. And we appreciate your partnership, and especially people like Dan. We want to make Dan's life as easy as possible so that they can respond as quickly as possible. I think with that, Mukund, to your end users, here we are in 2023, late 2023. We've had huge advances in AI, particularly huge buzzwords over the past couple of years. Thinking about home security, though, from my position, I see a moving from sort of sensors and just a plethora of IoT to a very camera-focused home security systems nowadays. Project me out 5 years from now. How do you see? Oh, go ahead, Dan.
If I will, I am terribly sorry. In this world, we must be prepared to change things. I have something I must go attend to, and I am terribly sorry about this. Feel free to share any of my thoughts that we shared in our pre-meeting. And I am so sorry. I apologize to all the attendees and to you guys, but I have to step away. I'm trying to avoid it. You may have seen me texting, but I've got to go step away and take care of this.
It's the real world. It's the real world, Dan. Go for it, man.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm so sorry. Anything you need, just let me know.
Okay.
No problem.
Thank you, sir. I hope all's well. Good luck. Man, I hope Dan's okay. I hope the people down in Alabama are okay. Our thoughts go out to you. Hopefully he'll follow up. With that, Mukund, I was wondering if you want to project us out 5 years, 10 years, wherever you think, what's going to be the next major innovation in home security do you see on the horizon?
So I think, we are on the brink of another wave of advancement in home security, primarily driven by AI, right? And the way I see it is, like, I'm just, if you look at some of the top trends relevant to home security, just last year, most of the cameras were HD qualities, which is like 1920 by 1080 pixels. But now you see the penetration of, and this is like, I'm taking the example of home security, which is the most price sensitive, where like now 2K cameras. So these are like twice the resolution. Cameras are starting to become commonplace. And then the second one is, of course, the emergence of multimodal AI that I was talking about, where like text and image connections are being forged. And then the third one is, of course, like conversational AI, like ChatGPT. So these are, if you see these three big trends, and if you synergize these, some interesting advancements for home security will start to evolve, right? For example, now, a higher level, just at a bird's eye view, right? I see it as home security systems becoming more reliable and more autonomous. And the way they may manifest is like maybe a few examples is the visitors, right? Now the home security system may be able to independently interact with and guide visitors without much human intervention, right? I see that happening, coming very soon. And also, because of the high resolution of these cameras, beyond just capturing a video, say there is an unknown vehicle, instead of just providing a clip, now these home security systems will be able to capture the license plate of these vehicles. So, that makes it much easier for ECC and 911 to follow through the case. And another example is, say an incident happened now, with all the audio visual information across the multiple cameras that are tied to your home security system, and with the power of these new AI models that can start to take in more and more context and history, the system will be able to provide much more insightful, detailed summary of the incident, an audio-visual summary, right? So these are some of the things I can think of that will make home security system more reliable and autonomous.
Mukund, I forget if it was you and I talking earlier about this, but in one of my recent conversations, there was some concepts around my home protecting my neighbor's home, like the thinking of sort of the network effect of some of these home securities as we continue to be able to digitally funnel them all to sort of central places, and being able to kind of connect the dots between things, and potentially getting into some prediction or prevention via that sort of network effect. Do you see what's kind of preventing that future, or do you see any hurdles that we need to solve as technologists in order to get sort of a greater effect across a network of home security systems?
So interesting question, because like we are at CAMI, we are starting to think beyond home security into neighborhood community security, right? And one of the hurdles we are seeing right now is that in order to deploy something for the community, there are like HOAs and apartment owner associations, and like where there are no HOAs, you will need the entire community to agree. So it's more that friction that we are facing. But I have seen I'm already seeing some traction in the space. Like in California, I've seen some communities where not our cameras, some of our competitor cameras have been used for monitoring the neighborhood. And this is really the 2023 version of neighborhood watch that's coming, right? So I see that coming fast, and we are going to put more and more focus on taking the home security to the next level, which is to protecting the entire neighborhood.
Yeah, I know. As a homeowner, I would definitely be interested to as a selling opportunity for CAMI. If I knew that some of my neighbors had that, and that I would get the benefit of being on the CAMI network because my neighbors are there, that's a powerful selling perspective for me. If you could demonstrate the power of how that works.
Yeah, and
Well,
just
go ahead.
quickly wanted to add, there are two ways to do it, right? There are existing like standalone home security systems that each homeowner, they have picked whatever they want and they have installed. And one way is to connect all those. That's a much more technically challenging problem because they all use different protocols.
Yep.
Versus installing some additional systems to protect the neighborhood. That's the easier approach, and that's probably where we are going first. And then maybe in the future, we may connect some of their existing standalone systems into this network.
We have a couple of questions, I think, put in the chat. And so I wanted to sort of take one and frame it maybe for you, Mukund. The question was whether or not we're closer. Can I call 911 by asking Siri or Alexa? I know that there's talk about those specific things into the future, but I guess maybe turning it to Cami, do you guys have that capability that if I'm in my home and I have a Cami security system installed, can I say, Cami, call 911? Like, is that on your radar? Is that something that you're thinking about as a feature?
So we have something called in our app. We have had some of our customers have this UI called Send Help or Ask for Help, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that first takes them to a monitoring center like yours, RapidSOS, where they determine what's the appropriate response if 911 needs to be called or if there is some other way to handle that. But currently, we don't have a direct line to 911.
Yeah, I think similar to the problems that we had in the beginning, which is home security systems are plagued a little bit with those false positives. So everybody's kind of funneling through that monitoring. But I think as we get better about utilizing technologies like AI to get more verification and trust kind of back into that system and speak more of that language that Dan was talking about of, no, this is not a false alarm. This is not like, this is truly an emergency. I think we'll have an easier time of getting that direct connection down into 911.
Yeah, and we are also trying to balance this. Like several of our customers, who are equipped with this just swipe to send help, have actually mistakenly either their kids or like people who are just playing around with it, like just trigger happy. They press that and like cops show up, and in many counties they will have to pay a fine if they show up. And there is no emergency.
As a dad to two young kids, I'm kind of glad that my kids can't just speak aloud, because there's constantly, I've broken something. Like, no, you haven't. So yeah, we need to get better at being able to weed out what's real and what's not, for sure. As we approach the end of the session, Mukund, I've been trying to ask all the people that I've been talking to about AI what I think is an important question. So as technologists, I think it's really important for us to dog food, to use the technologies that we are pushing out into the world and we are advocating for. And so I'd love it if you give me an example of how you've incorporated AI into your own personal life and maybe some of your early reflections on using it.
Sure. Pre ChatGPT, but Alexa and Google were the primary AI assistants, and they were less for home security, more for information like weather and stuff, right? In terms of home security, I have primarily relied on Cami home security system, and a couple of years ago we enabled person detection, vehicle detection, animal detection. I've primarily been using the person detection feature, which happens on the camera itself, and vehicle detection. Although I must say, there was one instance of car break-in where my catalytic converter, I was parked on the street, the catalytic converter was stolen. I could see the video, but I wish I had the license plate number of the car, right? That came in, these thieves came in and stole it. So we are building an LPR system, license plate recognition system, that should address that. And in terms of, broadly speaking, some of the post ChatGPT AI technologies that I have been using, both for personal applications and for work. I've been actually exploring and experimenting with a variety of SEO copywriting, AI tools around like arts and design for our marketing activities. The one that I've been most impressed with is like data analysis coding tools that I have been able to use, like mostly like ChatGPT Copilot. And I've also been exploring a bunch of tools for customer support, AI chatbots. Overall, I'm really excited for how AI is going to bring in like greater efficiency and productivity, both in my personal life and in our work processes.
Wonderful. On the lighter side, I've used it to write personal notes, ChatGPT, to write personal notes and birthday cards, and I've gotten like, that's the most thoughtful card I've ever gotten. Not for my wife, if you're watching, but for other people. And I'm excited. I hear at Rapid, we're about to pilot Duet, which is Google's kind of overall G Suite AI tool. I'm excited about being able to use that. And I've used this some success, GitHub's Copilot for authoring some templatizing some code for us. And we also use it for a security analysis tool as well. So yeah, thank you, Mukund. And again, thank you, Dan. You're not here. I hope all is well with you. And thank you all for joining another Ready23 session. I hope this was informative, and I really appreciate Mukund and Dan for joining me and having this conversation. So have a wonderful afternoon, and we'll see you at the next one. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Zach. Thanks. Enjoy the discussion. Bye.